Hey, my bad, bro. I meant to hit the stop record button, bro. Oh, that's funny.
Uh,
My bad. I just left on you. No later, no nothing.
Hello and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB. I've got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, hoodie connoisseur. I like the one he's got on today. It kind of looks like what's going on with the hoodie game today, Jody?
It was a hoodie I bought not a million years ago. It's probably like within the last 5 years, I'll say for sure. From Shein, because I needed one to work out in, and ironically enough, I never worked out in this hoodie. I wear it actually to wear it, but it's oversized because I was pretty big at the time, so I bought it really big, and here we are.
Okay. Well, I think it looks good, but Jody, what's up, Joe?
Well,
How we
first
doing?
and foremost, I want to say if you're listening at this moment or watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We also unsubscribe, resubscribe if you already do. If you already do follow us, because that helps with the numbers on the back end. And today probably watch on YouTube. I don't know if TB has videos of these dudes or not. So if he does, watch on YouTube. So we're back.
We do. We are getting back to it. You know, we've got a lot of good stuff as we head into draft season. Um, Obviously, we have not recorded since the Super Bowl, so congrats to the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Big time win for them.
Hey, shout out Kenny
Um,
Walker. Helped me win some money. So thank
Also,
you.
the Super Bowl MVP. Um, Sam Darnold, awesome win for him as well. Um, Mike McDonald, awesome win for him as well. So,
Seahawks are for
good
sale.
kudos to the Seahawks organization in general. And we are now officially in the thick of draft season. The NFL Combine is next week.
Yeah, soon.
Um, Jody and I, as we have in years past, we didn't last year. We kind of took last year off with me transitioning to the new gig, but we're back at it this year as we did in the 23 and 24 drafts. We've got a probably about a weekly positional group look at top 5 to 7, depending on how deep the group is. Prospects, along with maybe some extra guys who we don't look at and feature as deeply, but we may talk about, just so you have an idea going into the draft of who are like the top. I don't know. I think we generally end up analyzing about 70 guys with an idea of a good chunk of guys who could be drafted even
First round.
later. Um,
Yeah, a couple of those too.
so we're excited to get back to it this year. We have generally in the past saved quarterbacks for the end because that's always kind of the fun thing everyone wants to talk about.
Yeah.
This year we're going to start with the quarterbacks because I think that's the easiest group pre all the draft stuff, combine, all the extra stuff that's going to happen. This is probably the easiest group to break down before we get into all of that other stuff. So I am excited to talk about this group. It's a different kind of group than we've had in the last couple of years. You know, obviously the famed 2024 class we've seen. That group. Obviously, Drake May was in the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams was in the divisional round. You had Jaden Daniels make the NFC Championship in his rookie year. Bo Nix, takes the Broncos to the AFC Championship this year. Obviously, didn't get to play in it, but gets them there. So, like, that's a group that is, already pretty accomplished with 2 years to go. JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix, also first round picks in that group, and probably have had the least amount of success so far. But even those guys have had some
Injuries.
flashes. So we'll get to see kind of how this group evolves. It's a much different group than say that one or even last year's group. But I'm excited to talk about it. Overall, I would say this year's quarterback class not quite as deep in terms of the top end talent, but there might be some guys that if your team takes them in the later rounds, you might actually, every so often there's a Brock Purdy every so often. So there might be kind of one of those Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott types in this year's draft. I could see that.
There you go. Yeah, it's funny. One of my dudes I actually wrote down that he was similar to Brock Purdy, so we'll see that eventually.
Ah,
But
okay.
are you
We
are you pulling
we
it
will
up?
get we'll get to it right now. We'll get the screen share rolling. Here we go. Sir, can you see the
Let's
screen?
give me a sec. It's been a while. There we go. We're up and running.
There we go. All right, awesome. So, we've got it rolling here, and really excited to talk
You
quarterbacks.
testing me today, bro? This turnover on downs key? What's this?
Yeah. You use templates. So, no, we're talking quarterbacks. This year's draft, it is worth noting, cool logo actually this year. It's in Pittsburgh. So we've got a fun draft
Pittsburgh.
to look forward to in Pittsburgh. All right. So we're going to talk about 6 different guys today. Okay. First guy we're going to talk about is Garrett Nussmeier. Okay. Nussmeier been at LSU for 4 years. He's 6'1", 205. Jody, give us his stats.
Yeah, so in that 4-year range, 5-year range from 2021 to 2025, he's played 40 games. A completion percentage of 64%. He has had 7,700 yards basically passing. He's got 52 pass touchdowns. He's ran the ball for 142 yards. Has 5 rushing touchdowns. And let's see, he's thrown 24 picks and has taken 36 sacks in that time frame.
Yeah, Nussmeier, watch the tape. There's some stuff to like, okay? Number one, I think he's tough as nails. I go back to I think it was the 24 season, maybe it was 23. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I think people will remember this, what I'm talking about. He took a huge hit against South Carolina and just got right back up and kept playing. So, this year he had a misdiagnosed abdominal injury that he played through for all the games that he played, like from the start of the season. They misdiagnosed it at the beginning of the year. He played as many games as he could and still threw up like 2K yards and 12 touchdowns in that time frame. And he's looked really limited and not like himself. And then it made sense when he kind of came out after the season that he had an abdominal injury that they had misdiagnosed and they didn't know that's what it was. And so nobody really knew why he was struggling. Well, now it makes sense, right? So, I think for him to have played through that, obviously the tape doesn't look as good, but man, you come away thinking a lot of respect for the guy and what he was able to do this season. You go back to the 24 tape when he's healthy. There's a lot more that you can see there. And then also, we had the Senior Bowl last month. All reports out of there were that he looked a lot better at the Senior Bowl now that he's healthy, right? So I think toughness, big thing for him. He needs to be tough when he's not like the biggest guy in the world. He's 6'1", 205. So, he's going to have to be really tough to make it in the NFL. The second thing that stands out is his football IQ. He's got great football lineage. He grew up playing 6A Texas high school football, while his dad was the freaking quarterback coach for the Cowboys, right? So, Doug Nussmeier, he's been in college football as the offense coordinator at places like Michigan or Florida. He's been in the NFL. QB's coached Dallas Cowboys, Los Angeles Chargers. Now he's the OC for the Saints. If the Saints weren't probably really happy with Tyler Shuck, we might be talking about, will they take Garrett Nussmeier? Maybe they still will. You never know.
Yeah.
But it gives him a wealth of knowledge, football knowledge to use, and you can tell when you watch him play, he does process information pretty quickly. You're going to hear me say that probably a few times today. There's a couple other guys. I think this class generally is a high processing class, meaning they can pre-snap, identify a defense, and then post-snap, get through their reads and get from one guy to the next. I do think Nussmeier maybe more than some of the others for as his problem isn't necessarily processing as much as it is he definitely has like guys he likes to throw to, and so sometimes he gets
Yeah.
stuck on that first guy, and it's not for a lack of processing ability as much as it is sometimes I think he knows who he wants to get the ball to. But he does a good job of
Mhm.
identifying like man or zone pre-snap, one high, two high. Are we getting an extra blitzer? Where's the soft spot? Those kinds of things you can tell in film. He does a good job with that. And then the last thing that I think is a major strength for him is that the kind of the intermediate ball that you have to either put some zip on or just a little bit of touch to get it over a linebacker under a safety, right? Like the Brady this year. And, if you watched enough of Tom Brady broadcasts, he talk a lot about like the 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 ball, right? 1 ball being like super duper zip, 2 ball kind of being that over linebacker under safety, and the 3 ball just being the like beautiful, drop it in the bucket type shot. I think Nussmeier throws what Brady would describe as a 2 ball really well. Beyond the intangibles, he has some physical traits that jump out. He throws a good mix of zip and touch when he needs it, and I think he throws that intermediate ball in the middle of the field really well. It kind of reminded me of watching like quarterbacks who have thrived in the Kyle Shanahan offense, who are able to just kind of spam that ball in the middle of the field. He finds soft spots. He can get it there on time because he does throw with that 2 ball pretty well. So, Jody, did you see anything else on film beyond some of the things that I thought were important?
Probably just like adding to it. I said that he loves throwing a deep ball, which kind of ties into how
Yep.
you're saying he kind of predetermines where he wants to go and just launches it. And then in his motion, it looked like he had a really high release point to me, which kind of makes
Yeah.
sense him being 6'1". Like I didn't look at any of those numbers prior for any of these dudes, so
Mm-hmm.
like he's a little
It's
smaller than
funny
most, and
with
that makes sense.
quarterbacks. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I have no barometer just by watching the tape for how big a guy is. Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
when you see 6'1" versus 6'3" on the page, you're like, man, those 2 inches are a big difference. But when you actually
Mhm.
watch, sometimes you can't really tell like that one guy is much bigger than the other or whatever. It is.
Yeah.
I did find that interesting when I was kind of watching
That,
tape, then going to back to look up the measurables.
uh-huh.
Because with most of these guys, you kind of watch tape first, then go back and look at their numbers, look at the measurables, look at all that stuff. Then you kind of piece all of that together with maybe like you read about them, obviously a little bit background stuff like that,
Yeah.
and you try and put all of that together to make the analysis, right? The comp and all that stuff. And I'm kind of with you. And Nussmeier doesn't look small on tape, but he is small-ish. I mean, he's not a small
Yeah.
person, but compared to some quarterbacks, he's a smaller guy.
Mhm. And yeah, that's about it. The other thing I had was kind of negative, so I'll just leave that one to the side.
We do like to ask questions, obviously. I mean, the biggest question is, can he overcome his lack of physical size to become an NFL starter? That's going to be the big question. I think that's the thing that right now is holding him back is he doesn't have prototypical size. Um, and then the second thing we've kind of touched on, he can get locked on to first read, but what college quarterback doesn't? I don't think
Yeah.
he's unable to process information well, or that he is not, football savvy enough to play the position at the next level. I think those things are there. I think it's just about getting in an offense where he feels comfortable going from 1 to 2 to 3 and check down, whatever it is. And it's going to be just like any other situation. Who is going to coach him to play that way, right?
Very true.
Um, I really do think if the right situation for him is to end up in one of the sort of Shanahan Treese
Uh-huh.
teams. I mean, you're talking about like if the 49ers were to trade Mac Jones, I mean, Nussmeier would be a great backup for them for Brock Purdy. If the um, if the Raiders weren't going to draft Fernando Mendoza, the Kubiak would be another good one.
Ooh, Cardinals. Get him with
Um,
Jacoby.
maybe the Cardinals with they've got Mike LaFleur, who's kind of coming off of similar, the McVay. tree there, or maybe the Seahawks as a backup to Sam Darnold, or anybody who's going to run that similar schematic type, because he fits in that kind of offense, I think, really well. But that'll be the thing for him, is if can he overcome his lack of size, to stick in the NFL or even get a chance to be an everyday
In there.
starter.
Yeah.
What was your thing that you said was negative?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense because you said his two ball's pretty good, so it's kind of fitted in there a little bit. But I put that he has a slow release. Like I feel like he just has a long wind up to get the ball out of his
He
hands.
does. I do think that it is a little longer than some of the other guys in this class. If you do the kind of the release tracing, right, his might be a little bit more of a wind up. And that might be because he's a little bit smaller, so he's not going to have
Yeah.
like the rocket launcher attached to his arm. Um, I do think, if you look at like, okay, how does he fit in an offense? What can he do for an offense? I do think he should provide a stable and reliable option for quarterback for whoever drafts him. You put the mental, and then we did talk about some of the physical capabilities will allow him to operate an NFL offense efficiently. The guy who came to mind, similar guy, smaller, kind of in and out of being like starter, backup quarterback, hung around in the league for a long time. Um, Most notably kind of in San Francisco and Tampa Bay, and that's Jeff Garcia. That's who I comped him to. Same size. Um, Jeff Garcia, a little bit more mobile, but the other thing I love and remember about Jeff Garcia is his toughness. And that's where Nussmeier, that's kind of where I really felt like they were similar. We can crunch some tape here and look at
Yeah, I'll
this.
say the dudes I wrote down for him. I mean, like I said, I didn't look at size, so take that out of the question. I wrote down Big Ben, Mac Jones, or Phillip Rivers. I don't know. One of those dudes looks like him.
All of those dudes are significantly bigger than him, but I think the commonality that you're seeing is maybe a little bit of that gunslinger type,
I would
and that
say,
is Jeff Garcia. That is Nussmeier to a certain extent. So we watched Nussmeier. This is 2 years ago, in that against USC in Vegas. Um, just perfect deep ball in the back corner of the end zone. Now here he is. Here's that intermediate, like over the backer, under the safety, nice little zip, puts it right on him. That's Kyron Lacey, RIP, unfortunately. And then another intermediate ball that he gets over and under. And so I think you can see he throws like just the right amount of touch on this first one. And in, the second and third clips here, again, little zip to get it to his guy, but enough touch that it gets over the backers. I think does a really good job on those kinds of throws. Throws a really catchable ball as well. If you're thinking like, okay, Jeff Garcia, right? This is a great touch ball in the back of the end zone, like we saw first from Nussmeier. Here he is, little over the backer, under the safety, right? Threw a little zip, little touch on it. In Tampa, similar deal here.
that's all
Like
good.
put some zip on that ball in the intermediate middle area part of the field. I just think similar play style, similar toughness, similar physique. So that's why I kind of comp Nussmeier to Jeff Garcia there. I do think characteristic wise, you saw Nussmeier does have the 24 picks. That is because he tends to like try and get his guy the ball. A little bit of the gunslinger mentality, not afraid to take risks. That is also Jeff Garcia. That is also some of the guys that you comped him to. So
Yeah.
if we look at right now, most projections, this is early in the process, but most projections have him going on day 2, maybe in the second or third round. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl, so that helped him a lot. Like I said, I think if he gets to the right place, someone could develop him into a quality backup with the potential to eventually be the starter.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense to me. Like, I think that's a lot of these dudes. They need development. You know what I mean? Like, some of these
Mm-hmm.
dudes, they got plenty of years under the belt. They kind of figured it out. The other dudes, they got like not nearly as many starts to comparably. You know what I mean? And
There,
then with the transfer
it's
portal, they're learning new stuff everywhere. They're there for a year, maybe two. Like it's all. I think it all kind of will figure itself out eventually. But at the moment, it's like they're either they got it figured out or like any time still. You know what I mean?
yeah. I do think there is. It's an interesting group because we don't have the like young guy who's coming out after his redshirt sophomore year and has played 12 games, right?
Yeah.
Like we all of these guys have been in college for 4+ years, right? So you're starting to see I think we're starting to kind of see the impact of the NIL revolution a little bit here where
Mhm.
guys are staying in school. And so now we're starting to see like guys are a little bit older coming out or have been in school longer. A lot of these guys have played like 35 plus games. Some of them haven't started that many, but a lot of them have played at least like 35 games, which I noticed is a lot different from what we've seen in years past, where we had some guys in the teens or the 20s. That's not really any of these guys. So it is interesting to note that part. Um, Anything else you got on Garrett Nussmeier before we move on?
I guess going back to like my comps that I had. Another thing is like it kind of like Big Ben, especially that I remember, is like he was kind of just like bouncing off of people. You know what I mean? Like it always
Mhm.
looked like he was in trouble, but would figure a way out of there. I kind of saw that in some of his film too.
Yeah. All right. Next guy we've got Drew Aller. This guy is the craziest guy in this draft as far as the quarterback position. He's the one that jumps off the page when you go like, holy smokes, look what this kid can do. All right. He's the one that in years past, somebody for sure would swing big on. Whether it hit or not, you never know.
Yeah.
But someone was going to swing big. It's interesting because I don't think his stock has ever been lower than it probably is right now. So that is the
Good
interesting piece.
sentiment.
Like if he had come out after his college football playoff run last year, I think he's probably drafted in low round one, high round two. Right now, you look at it and people are like, "Oh, he's probably going in day 3." I won't be surprised if this guy rises up draft boards as we get closer to April. All right. Um, he's 6'5", 240. Right? That's something you can't coach. That's something that none of the other quarterbacks in this draft resemble. And so that is something that is important. But Jody, give us his statistical profile.
Hey, him being 6'5" is gonna be funny when it comes to my comp. I'm gonna just say that right now.
Okay.
Uh, so my guy was in college for 4 years, 2022 to 2025. He's played 45 games. His completion percentage was averaged at 63.2. He's thrown for 7,400 yards, a little more than that. We got a passing touchdown sitting at 61. He's had 732 rushing yards with 12 rushing touchdowns. He's thrown 13 picks and was sacked 43 times in that
So,
whole career.
it's funny because we did not do the evaluations last year. But I do remember around December or January of last year thinking, watching a college football playoff game and thinking like, dude, if this guy comes out, someone is going to reach and he's going to be a bust, right? That was like my thought process. Someone's going to reach for this guy, draft him really high, and he's going to thinking they're getting Josh Allen and he's going to be a bust. And that was my thought on him.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here a year later and I'm sitting here thinking like coming off the ACL, kind of a subpar start to the year before he blew out his ACL. And then everything else happens with Penn State where James Franklin gets fired and yada, 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 right? Coming out of all that, and now he's sitting there and people are like, he's probably drafted in the 4th round, 5th round. I'm sitting here thinking like, whoa, this is now it feels like he's the best value at the position. Now I'm kind of going the other way because
Pendulum swung back.
well, like I'm looking and we go through the strengths here, and the funny part is the strengths are all like physical characteristics that you cannot
Yeah.
coach. His arm strength, like he's got one of the stronger arms to throw the ball in this draft class than anybody. Like, the ball jumps out of his hand. He can make every throw an NFL offense would ask you to make. He doesn't ever look strained throwing the ball. Like, he never looks like he's trying to throw it hard. But then you watch, it's effortless, and the ball just like it just comes out of his hand. Obviously the size and strength, that frame, he's got prototypical size, a frame that NFL coaches would love to have at quarterback.
Definitely.
Has all those things that you just can't coach that give him the highest possible ceiling. The highest possible ceiling. The ceiling is like, hey, maybe this guy figures it out and he becomes Josh Allen. That's the ceiling. Now, I'm not telling you that's who you're drafting if you draft him, right? But that's the ceiling. And so that has to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about it. The same can be said for there's a lot of guys who have looked like this that have been drafted that never became anything. But part of the reason they were drafted is because the ceiling is that high,
Mhm.
So he stands out in the class because there are so many other guys that are a lot more like we described with Nussmeier. 6'1", 205, good at processing, has all the knowledge, understands it, but can he physically do it, right? Drew is the opposite. It's like, dude, physically, there are no questions. Dude is a tank. He can throw every throw. He can run the ball. He's tough, like all that stuff. Big game play. Like, you look at the 24-25 CFP run, and those are some of his best plays. He protected the ball fairly well, evaded pressure. He made, the thing that I questioned with him, and we're going to talk about here, was like some decision making. It wasn't perfect in that run, but it was better, I felt like, than some of the stuff he got away with in the regular season. He was really good at evading pressure. He wasn't afraid to run. He had 302 rushing yards in that run and 6 touchdowns rushing. So
That's half
did a
of
good
them.
job of getting the ball to playmakers in space and being efficient and just saying, like, Tyler Warren's open 3 yards down the field. Let me just get it to him. So he did a really good job in that run, played well in the big games. There's a reason they got all the way to the semifinal and played a really good game against Notre Dame. But, the big question is, can he process information quick enough and eliminate some of those poor decisions that you watch it in college, and he was a very, like, simplistic quarterback. It was like, man, I'm hoping I see man so I can just throw it to my guy, right? Or like I might get
That's true.
stuck on that first read and I'm not processing it quick enough to like get to the next thing.
Mhm.
He could bail himself out sometimes because he's so traitsy and he has the big arm, but like you get to the NFL and that stuff doesn't work as much, right? It's kind of
Very
like
true.
you play, everyone played with the kid in junior high in whatever sport where they were just bigger, faster, stronger than everyone. So they didn't really have to learn the game. They could just show up and do it, and they were just better.
Yeah.
But then you get to high school, and those guys sometimes don't work out because they never like developed the mental side of it to become even better, right?
Fundamentals weren't there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the big question with Drew Allar right now. But what do you see when you watch it?
Kind of similar to what you said, honestly. So like that last part, especially for like his decision making, I guess in a way. I had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of his I had were negative. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really a fan, and so like similar to what you said, he could bail himself out. I wrote down he likes to scramble. You see him throwing it off platform on a boot somewhere more often than not, from what I saw. He sits in the pocket and he has like a double clutch. You know when they talk about they always pat the ball. He was doing that a lot. I didn't really like that. And then on
Yeah.
his deep balls, every now and again he would like kind of like how you said where he was chucking them to like the one dude just cuz. On those some of those I felt like he was just underthrowing them. Like he had the right play, but his dude either was too fast or something he couldn't get it there, but he knew where it needed to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think if you ask yourself, like, okay, what does he do for an offense? The big thing is, like, if he's at his best version of himself, he gives you a dual threat with a big arm that completely opens up your off. You could run any scheme. Like the talent he has means you can run anything you really want, as long as he can develop the mental side of the game and understands how to play quarterback at that level. I was not a fan of Josh Allen coming out when he came out in 18. I didn't.
Yeah.
I had the same big questions about him that I have about Drew Aller. Now the difference in somewhat is that Allen played for Wyoming and Aller plays for Penn State. So there is a difference in like sometimes you felt like maybe Josh Allen was overcompensating for the talent he had around him and trying to make too much stuff happen. So he's putting on the cape way too much. And then he got to the NFL and realized pretty quickly, I don't have to do that. There's a similar story there with Mahomes in college at Texas Tech. Aller, you're like, dude, you play at Penn State. Like you have some guys like, you shouldn't have to feel like maybe you're putting on the cape as much, but because of those stories of those guys being so traitsy and then figuring it out in the NFL, that's why I think you can't just write Drew Aller off as like, no, he just doesn't have it. Like there's something there that you have to pay attention to because of all that. So I do think someone he's going to end up going higher than round 3 or than day 3. I won't be surprised if he sneaks into that third round because someone's going to convince themselves they can coach him well enough that the traits will show. My comp for him was Drew Bledsoe. Similar size, similar sort of athlete, thrower of the football, not necessarily known as a runner, but can run, mobile, like really strong, great arm, all that stuff. We go to the tape here. This is Allar in the CFP game against Boise State. I just want everyone to appreciate this throw because it's one of the better ones that I saw of all the guys. This is a 55-yard throw. He looks like he's not. I mean, did that look like he was trying to throw it that far?
Nah.
Like that? I mean, just watch the release. It's like, nah, I'm just trying to. It's like it looks how I would throw like a real football to like a little kid, and I'm trying not to hurt him. Like,
Yeah.
And in his, it comes off his hand, goes a mile in the air, and lands in the back of the end zone 55 yards deep, right in his guy's hands. Like, drops that thing in the bucket. That is a throw and a half right there. Like I said, one of the better throws that I saw of anybody on film. And then the next piece of it, you see the athleticism. Like, okay, evade the sack, step up. Now he can run. And again, he's not necessarily Josh Allen out there. Like he is kind of the tank that Allen is, but he doesn't quite have the speed, the open field speed that Allen has.
Yeah.
But you can see like he can go pick up 3rd and 14 with his legs. So then you kind of go watch like old school Drew Bledsoe. And this was fun. Look at this throw.
Yeah.
Effortless, right in the bucket. I mean, a cannon. Here's some other, there's some other throws in this cut up that we kind of get to, shout out to all the people who keep these highlights alive on the internet. You get to a second here. Again, effortless with the throwing motion. Like he's just so big. The thing that you see here in a second in this last play is like some of the mobility similarly to Allar, not necessarily known for being like a runner, but can do that when he needs to. So that's where the comp comes from. I don't know. Maybe I'm falling for the same trick that some of these guys have fallen for over the years, but as I watched, I became more convinced like maybe I was a little low on Allar before. Of all the guys that I had a thought about them before I really watched it, he's the one that probably was much better on tape than I perceived. Now, the problems still exist, and the problems are such that if he can't fix them, he'll never really play. So that's the thing. He's probably the greatest boom or bust of anybody in this draft at quarterback. So that is the thing to understand. But I think there is the chance of boom.
Yeah, my comp that I wrote down, like I said, don't look at the size because the size does not compare. But I put down Russell Wilson. And it's kind of those two plays that you actually showed, I would say, are partly very similar to what he does. At least, especially early Russell Wilson. You know what I mean?
Moonball.
Just mobile enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. The size is, yes, you are correct.
Yeah,
not even
way off. Don't even look at it.
not even close. I was trying to give you good size. I like that I have focused on like the size, talent, profile, and you've kind of just been like play style. Let's just
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
the
yeah. I
play
look at
style?
it and I see
Yeah.
this guy reminds me of this guy.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, we can move on. And he's right smack in the middle of this evaluation of all these guys. But he ain't going to be in the middle of the draft. He's going number one, baby. That is Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza, like Allar, he is 6'5". He's just not quite the tank as far as the body type that Allar is. What's
Definitely.
funny, this is another guy, like when you watch Mendoza on tape, you don't like Allar's physicality shows, and you're like, yeah, that guy's big. Mendoza, I was thinking like, oh, he might be 6'3". You know, he kind of reminded me of like um it's almost similar to the experience of watching Trevor Lawrence when he was in college. Like, you don't really think he's that big, but then you go do the research, and you're like, nah, guy's actually pretty big. He's
Yeah.
not, he doesn't weigh as much as Aller, but he's only 225, but he's about as big. Um, he started at Cal, was at Cal for 3 years, and then kind of finished at Indiana. But give us his statistical profile, Joe.
Yeah, so he started 36 games in college, has 68.6 completion percentage. He's thrown for 8,247 yards. Got 71 touchdowns. Let's see, I think. Yeah. So yeah, there's 23, 24, 25. I have all those numbers written down too, so that
Yeah,
checks out with me. We got 467 rushing yards with 11 rushing touchdowns.
sneaky
Thrown
athlete.
for 22 picks and was sacked 82 times.
He took way too many sacks at Cal, but he did kind of play behind a much better offensive line in Indiana and shored some of that stuff up. When you watch Mendoza, I was kind of like, okay, I obviously watched a lot of college football this year, watched him enough in the playoffs, watched him against
I
Ohio
was gonna
State,
say
against
him
Oregon.
and Carson Beck. I've seen way more just because of the
Yep.
playoff compared to all the other dudes.
And he was elite in the national title game. I mean, very few complaints in that game as far as how he played. But I was thinking like, okay, is this just a guy who had one really good year in the right system that now is going to be the first overall pick, and we're going to look back and be like, he's kind of flash in the pan because no one
And that
thought
guy won
this
the
when he
Heisman. Come on.
but no one thought this when he transferred from Cal. Like, no one was like, you know who's going to just set the world on fire next year at Indiana? Fernando Mendoza. It was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know who he is. Like he's pretty good at Cal. He'll probably be all right for them. He'll be just as good as Rourke was for them the year before. Turns out, like, guy was significantly better. When's the Heisman? All that stuff. Then you go watch the tape, and you're like, man, there really is some stuff on tape that makes you say, like, he's got to be the first pick. There's nobody else. It's not even close right now. He's by far and away like the best guy. His processing, number one, by far. It's his greatest strength. It's why he'll be the number one pick. It's his just ability to process information. Highly intelligent individual, of course. You can tell he works on his craft. His commitment to seeing the field turned him into a Heisman quarterback. There's a good story about how, of course, they do the Manning Passing Academy every year. A lot of the college quarterbacks go, some high school, whatever, they go, they get developed. Mendoza didn't go this year because Cignetti told him, you need to stay here, and I'm going to teach you how to play quarterback in our system. And that, like, right there, the commitment to, like, no, I'm not going to go to this thing that is cool, gets me exposure or whatever. I'm going to
Yeah.
learn with Kurt Cignetti how to play quarterback at Indiana. I think shows like some of that commitment that I'm talking about. But you see it on film. Like, he does not hang on stuff. He gets off of it and he goes to the next thing. He uses
True.
pre-snap motion to verify like what he thinks he's seeing. He understands the shell of coverage before the snap. He knows, like, I'm going to look here. If it's not there right now, I'm going to the next thing. I know what should be open if that is covered XYZ, right? And then he's still good enough to be like, oh, it's man coverage. Okay, I don't know who I want to go to, and I know the spot I got to put it. The accuracy is another thing. He's
Yeah.
probably has the best accuracy of any quarterback in the class. And he puts the ball in spots that it's like a legitimate weapon where he's able to just kind of dart throws. So it's like, you put those things together, just complete package. And then the last thing is like the frame. We talked about. He's like 6'5". He can see over everything. It's allowed him to be pretty durable. I said he was a sneaky athlete as a runner. Like those 11 rushing touchdowns, obviously in the national title game, calls
Yeah,
his
he
own
had
number on
one.
the quarterback draw.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a sick play. And I love just like the toughness, the durability. I mean, we saw like the bloody lip, the shots he took in both the Ohio State game in their Big Ten championship and then in the national championship. Like he took some shots and was like,
Yeah,
no big
true.
deal, unfazed. So he's got some sneaky athleticism and arm to boast. All of that gives him access to a ton of creativity. Because, I think my thought was maybe he's just kind of system quarterback would sound disrespectful, but like he processes really well and he just gets the ball and but then you actually watch it. He is creative. He can create out of the structure. So when you add that, and I'm not telling you he's Caleb Williams necessarily, but like when you see all of that on tape, like, man, that's what more are you asking for? So I don't think he's, because it was the 1 year and because it was a great situation in Indiana, I don't think he lives in the like Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck world of like the can't miss number one picks.
Uh-huh.
But I think he's just kind of below that, honestly, because it's all there, the stuff that you want.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I kind of taking what you said about his strengths. Like, I saw basically you talked about his accuracy. Like, we saw that in like the big game. He was throwing back shoulders where his dude was barely off, had any
The
room to
throw
catch
against
it.
Penn State and the gotta have it situation where he put it up top and it's like
Yeah.
literally his guy's gonna catch it or it's incomplete. But I mean,
Yeah, so I said he had zip on his ball basically to fit it in those tight windows every now and again. His release was pretty quick. And just over watching all his games comparatively to just his highlights, like you could tell he's always poised. That dude, you kind of felt like
poise is a great word
uh
for him. Yeah, good call.
he never you never felt like he was down and out, even if they were
Mhm.
losing. They were just like they're gonna figure it out somehow. He kind of had that going for him in the games that I saw.
As far as question marks, because you're like, man, you're describing him like a can't miss project prospect. Like I said, he's not quite in that can't miss world that lives up here of prospects. I think he's a tier below that. And part of the reason why is he was in a very quarterback friendly offense that was also heavily focused on RPOs. So it's not going to quite translate to the NFL. Might take him a second to get to that NFL offense level, but also I love that his quarterback coach and not just his quarterback coach, but the guy who's going to be directing him as his head coach in Vegas is Kubiak, because we just saw what he was able to do with Arnold.
That's true.
And so I do feel like that will help him. I think it's a great situation for him to go into. He's going to have some guys around him like Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty that he can take advantage of, like matchup wise. So I do have that question. If he doesn't work out, it's going to have to be like he just can't. He doesn't function in the NFL style of offense. But also, part of me is like I think Kubiak will fit the offense to him. He's shown to be multiple as an OC and as a play caller. So as far as what he can do for an offense, I think he's a bona fide day one starter. I think he's going to be effectively able to process reads, have access to the full field. I think his frame and durability allow him to be super reliable. The poise, like that's the other part. Like when someone shows you that, it's like even if he fails early, even if there's some stuff that doesn't go well right away, you have enough confidence in the mental makeup that
Yeah.
you're like, he will eventually work. I think that's like Sam Darnold is a great example of someone who's very talented and had the mental makeup that even though it didn't go well in New York, he was in a very bad situation in New York and
Yeah,
Carolina
true.
and has been in some better situations since where he's actually now shown you like he is an NFL quarterback. He is a starter, right? I
Mhm.
think Mendoza, funny enough, is going to be that, but he don't have to go through that kind of fire because I think he's going to be in a much better situation in Vegas right away than say what Sam Darnold was with New York. So
Mhm.
I love it for him. the Raiders and that fit. My comparison is actually Matt Ryan. I think it's a great comp in terms of Matt Ryan is a guy who was not quite the can't miss prospect. He was kind of just, again, tier below, had a great career, won an MVP, got to a Super Bowl, was in the playoffs like all the time. If not for playing against Tom Brady, he probably has a Super Bowl title to his name as well. I think Mendoza can have a very similar kind of career. So I think Matt Ryan, great comp there. What were some of your comps? Also, by the way, similar again size 6'5", 225, basically the same size, weight. And early Matt Ryan, if you remember, a little bit more athletic than you go back to the tape, a little more athletic than you remember. Also, even late stage Matt Ryan, we remember that run he had for the Colts against the Raiders. Just saying.
For me, so my first initial thought actually was Rodgers, but I was like, this is the cow jersey speaking to me. I'm not gonna write that down.
Yeah, I don't think he has the arm that I don't think he has like that extra that Rodgers has. Yeah.
But I went more so with like what I saw in the playoff run. Basically, I wrote down Baker, where like I said, you see him kind of like you said, he was taking the blows in those games, like he had the bloody lip, all that, and you just never counted him out. Especially, I think they were losing one of the games and then came back and won at the end or something, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think just the mindset comes from Baker is what I'm seeing.
Okay, I hear it. I think he personality wise they're completely different, but I do think the ability to kind of like the toughness factor I see similarly. Here's Mendoza, couple throws against Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Just wanted to highlight, like, look at the ball placement. Look at the accuracy. I mean, like, it's like, okay, I'm identifying one high, man coverage. I've got my guy on a slot fade, one-on-one. I'm going to throw it away from the safety, so it's truly one-on-one. And I'm also going to put it right on that dude's back shoulder so Surratt can go up and get it. Okay, now it's 3rd and 6. See, okay, I've got pressure looking at me in my face. I've got guys pressed across the board. I've got maybe one high safety. Okay, stuff drops out. They're playing like a bracket coverage. I find the true one-on-one, and I can beat that guy over the top with the throw. So, like, the processing and the accuracy in real time, you can see it in both of those plays. When you go to Matt Ryan, similarly, elite processor with the traits to boast, like the accuracy, again, of putting that ball in a spot where only his guy can go get it. All of these throws, I think, highlight him finding those matchups, processing the information. You don't get to see the full field as much because it's like a true highlight tape look, but you get the idea of, like, I think the ball placement accuracy with the processing is where you, along with the frame, the 6'5", 225 look, I think that's where you kind of get that comp. A lot of people have been saying, like, we're not going to see, pocket passers, true pocket passers as we go, right? It was kind of like that's a dying breed. Stafford's the last of, like, the elite true pocket passers. Mendoza might be the next one that way. And it's not that he's not mobile or athletic or can run. It's just that he will win from the pocket. And I see a lot of Matt Ryan there.
We'll say too, like, piggyback that statement, like that goes back to just them always being basically in what's it called? Shotgun. You know what I mean? Like they kind of, no one really goes under center, especially in college, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Mendoza certainly did not a whole lot at Indiana. So that's, again, Kubiak, he's going to want to go under center. So, like, there's some stuff, like I said, the transition to NFL offense is going to be the biggest hurdle for him, but I think Kubiak will help him out a lot there. He's obviously going to be the first overall pick. We don't need to talk about that projection a whole lot more. Moving forward, next guy, Cade Klubnik from Clemson, is kind of the next guy we want to discuss. He's 6'2", 210, played 4 years, all 4 years at Clemson. What's his statistical profile, Joe?
He played for 49 games there with a completion percentage of 64%. Threw for 10,123 yards. He's got 73 passing touchdowns. 878 rushing yards with 17 touchdowns. He threw 24 picks and was sacked 82 times there.
Wow. So took a lot of sacks, clearly.
Yeah,
We're going to kind of talk about that and address it. But, when you look at Klubnik, it's interesting. Like his background is like, okay, this guy went to, Austin Westlake in Texas, which is a, big time Texas high school football program, 3-year starter, didn't lose a game like in his last 2
that's
years,
crazy.
was like 27-0. And just like, I mean, back-to-back state titles, unreal, right? He won the 400-meter dash. He was a 400-meter dash state champion.
That's insane.
He was like, so you're talking about like as elite of an athlete as it gets, basically. Goes to the Elite 11, wins MVP at Elite 11, and it's like, okay, Clemson's got their next Trevor Lawrence here, right? But then
Yep.
it just never like materialized that way at Clemson. It's not to say that he wasn't very good, because he had flashes of being very good. I mean, I think the best game he played was for Clemson in the college football playoff 2 years ago against Texas, which is a game that not a lot of people remember. But that first, year of the 12-teamer, Clemson matched up with Texas. Clemson kind of snuck in, and he played a great game against a very, very good Texas defense. Quinn Ewers was able to just kind of outduel him to win it at the end. But, I thought that was kind of like the best we saw of Klubnik, and you thought maybe he would, as a senior here, he would kind of put it together, and it just didn't quite get there. Strengths-wise, if you watch him, does have a very quick, compact release. Does not have like the big windup. It allows him to make some tight window throws that other people would not. He does seem to have some limitations in his processing. He's an elite athlete who it's similar to Allar. He's smaller than Allar. He's an elite athlete in a different way. But he also has the similar problem that Allar has, which is like he's not reading and seeing defenses well enough. But because he has that really quick release, it allowed him to kind of be late sometimes, right? Like he could be a fraction late. It gives him in that extra second. So the release gives him a little bit higher ceiling because it gives him that extra second to make some decisions. Now in the NFL, he's obviously going to have to become a lot better processor, but the release should give him a chance. I think he throws with great touch, like his 3-ball, really good.
Yeah. Yes, I wrote
Throws
that down too.
pretty touch ball over the top, drop it in the bucket with the best of them. And the last thing was his pocket awareness. I actually thought his awareness, mobility in the pocket got him out of trouble in a lot of moments for Clemson. He did take a ton of sacks, but I think he would have taken even more if not for his ability to kind of manipulate the pocket and get some clean throws off. It's kind of a sticky one because it's like sometimes he created some sacks with his movement and wanting to buy time and trying to do too much. And other times he completely avoided what would have been a sack. He didn't have like the greatest offensive lines in front of him at Clemson. So I think that was also part of it. But I do think, his pocket awareness is still a strength. Obviously, big questions with him. Can he become consistent enough with the mechanics and the processing? His mechanics weren't always great. Processing, not great in moments. And so he has all these traits, but they don't always show up. So can he become consistent enough? Like, can he get to the right coach who helps him clean up his mechanics, teaches him how to process and see defense well, and then let those traits shine at the highest level, right? That's probably the biggest question I have. Jody, what'd you see on the tape?
Yeah, so you talked about the deep ball. I literally wrote down he has a deep ball, moon ball. Like you could see that clearly. I wrote down he loves a pump fake. You would see it. Like, I think it kind of ties in how you were saying. It kind of you
He's
would see
almost,
him trying to
it's
get himself
funny.
in trouble because of the quick release. You would see
You
him like,
talked
oh,
about
zip it.
Russell Wilson earlier. This is
Yeah,
almost play style Russell, like great moon ball, avoid sacks, but also create sacks. He's bigger than
yeah.
Russell Wilson, but it's just kind of funny. Made me think about it.
And the last thing I wrote down was zone read / RPO. I think we saw that good amount in his tape.
Mm-hmm.
And but just spoil this now because you mentioned this dude's name already. I don't know why I actually wrote down Trevor Lawrence. So like I said, we're obviously watching Clemson. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I don't know why it just spoke to me. They're like the same person, and I was like, this could either be good for him or bad for him in the NFL.
Yes. Yes. Um, he's not as he didn't play as well in college as Lawrence did. Like he didn't show he had the flashes of brilliance, but not consistently enough. Like Lawrence
Mhm.
was just like, I mean, all 3 years he was at Clemson, he was just really freaking good. Klubnik
Yeah,
never
true.
quite put it together like that. Um, he does have, I think, the physical traits to operate an NFL offense if he can build consistency with his hips and feet, as well as the processing. Like the big thing he can do for an offense, he can make throws, he can run a little bit, he can do some different things. The pro comp I put for him was Tommy DeVito, who we saw have that kind of flash in the NFL. He's stuck around since. We'll go to the tape so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. This first one, this is a throw against Syracuse. That is just like an unreal like moon ball off the play action fake. He just puts it up. Like this one I talk about the great touch, putting in the bucket, like just elite throw. Good stuff. And then you get, of course, like the extra selly here and all the dramatics afterwards. But great throw nonetheless, over the top in the bucket. And I think that's where I said he throws with great touch. He throws an awesome moon ball. Now, same game. He's got to buy some time. You can see Syracuse was kind of killing him. The only reason they were in this game was because of Klubnik. Buys time, manipulates the pocket. Great throw, like fading away. Threw a fadeaway jump shot there. To avoid the sack, buy some time, get it to his guy in the back of the end zone. So those are kind of the traitsy things you see with Klubnik, even if he isn't the greatest processor or the best mechanically in terms of consistency. Then you go to like Tommy DeVito in the NFL, similar height, size, profile again, but here he is manipulating the pocket to buy time, get it to his guy, right? Saquon Barkley. Obviously, it's from 2023, I believe, when he had that kind of run. Here he is in the pocket, standing. You see this from Klubnik. I didn't necessarily show it to you on film, but you kind of see some of that stuff on film as well. And then now you get the kind of moon ball over the top, put it in the bucket
Yeah,
again to
Saquon.
Barkley. So, like I said, I think there's some real similarities there. I think he could have a similar career where you maybe he gets that shot one day, and he shows up right enough to
Yeah,
stick around as a really competent backup, if not, sometimes your starter. So, do think that's kind of where Klubnik sits. Seeing him kind of as a day two projection, probably round 3 is where I've seen a lot of his projections, but with the projections on these quarterbacks right now, take it with a grain of salt. Everything's early, so we'll see how it materializes as we go.
and say the combine coming up will be a good test, test for them because I
Yep.
obviously Caleb Williams didn't perform there. He didn't do anything,
Mhm.
but like for these dudes, I'm sure they'll all do something.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Anything else on Klubnik that you thought before we move on to the next guy?
Kind of more of a general thing, not just to him, but most of them I think did better in their junior year than they did their senior year. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah,
know where that
it's
came
true
from.
for Klubnik. It's true for Allar. True for Nussmeier. Not true for Mendoza,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but
he got a better
but
home.
of the
That
first 4, you are correct. 3 of the first 4 had better junior years or 2024s than they did 2025s. It is
yeah.
That's why it's really interesting to note. You're spot on with that.
And then another thing too, just because you kind of brought it up, like Carson Beck and Mendoza both had better linemen than probably any of the other dudes. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
Carson Beck
yes.
was at Georgia going to Miami, made it to the playoff. Mendoza straight to the playoff. Well, he won, I should say. So those are little things to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. Next guy we're going to look at, we've got 2 left here. So second to last guy we want to look at is Ty Simpson at Alabama. Um, Another guy who we see He's been around for 4 years, played in 31 games. There's no one on this list that's like a 20-something game guy. I think Simpson, of all of them, has the least experience as an actual starter.
Yeah, this past year,
But
basically.
yeah, I think he started 15 games total, played in 31 for through the 4 years he was at Alabama. But
Uh-huh.
it's crazy. He played for Saban. You're thinking like, man, it feels like it's been a while since Saban was there. He actually did
That's wild.
start and play for a game, with Nick Saban. So he was recruited by him and all that. So, but statistically, what are we looking at here with Ty Simpson?
Yeah, so he's 6'2", 215. He was there for 4 years, like you said. Played in 31 games. He's got a 64% completion percentage. He's thrown for 3,948 yards, 28 touchdowns. He's got 223 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. He threw 5 picks and was sacked 34 times.
So I think the first thing that stands out with Simpson is the football savvy. He's the son of a coach. He just has an elite understanding and control of the game. Like he understands how to manipulate defenses before and after the snap. He can. You saw him. I think he had a ton of freedom in Alabama's offense to run it how he saw fit. As a senior this year, in terms of, you could see a lot of pre-snap motion stuff, identifying what's going on, changing protections, like all that kind of stuff that you rarely see from a college quarterback. He was able to do. I think he truly has the processing skills to be an NFL starter. Then you think about like clean mechanics, right? He often throws from a really clean base, plays really effectively in terms of like he doesn't ever let his feet get here while he's throwing here. He doesn't do any of like the stuff that you just often see from quarterbacks where you're like, oh man, he's trying to do too much, or he's not
Uh-huh.
setting his feet, or he's not getting his feet around or his hips around to the throw. He doesn't do a lot of that. He's like clearly worked on it a ton, and elevated himself beyond like what maybe the physical characteristics suggest he can be. Because like you don't watch him and think like he has like a super strong arm, but you do see like, okay, plays clean mechanically. He does have a quick trigger. Another guy with a really quick release. Gets the ball out to the spot where he wants. And then you combine that with like the elite processing. And now you don't have to have like the super strong arm to fit it in windows because you process and you get it out quick and like your mechanics are clean. You're always going to put the ball where you want. He is fairly accurate. It made him a very lethal pocket passer in college. He is kind of that uh, pocket passing quarterback, a lot like Mendoza. Mendoza's probably a little bit more athletically gifted. He's a little bit bigger, probably has a little bit stronger arm. That's why you're talking about Mendoza as the first pick, and you're talking about Ty Simpson. Like, he might sneak into that first round, back half of the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the big question, though, when you talk about all that, is you're realizing Ty Simpson's very refined. He's a little bit older prospect. All these guys really are, truthfully, because like I said, they've all been in college for a while. So you just wonder, like, how much better can he get if he's already clean mechanically, if he's already really processing information, if he already has a quick release? Has he reached like the ceiling of his physical traits, and therefore, like, is that good enough in the NFL to be
Mm-hmm.
like an
I
everyday
see.
starter, to be your franchise quarterback? That will be the question. Is like, does he have the frame and physical traits to kind of blow past that perceived ceiling? Does he still have some development to go? It does, on film, he plays so clean that you don't think so, but maybe there's a little bit more that someone can get
Yeah.
out of him. That would be the big question I have, which is a total compliment to him, by the way, and saying that, man, he looks like he's really worked his craft and maximized his abilities.
Yeah. What I wrote down is kind of funny. So I wrote down like you said, he has. I wrote down good reads. He makes good reads. Goes through his progressions. Like that all looked good. But you were talking about his mechanics being like never throwing it off platform. I wrote down fadeaway / feet not set, and I didn't mean that in like a diss. I meant it like when he made those throws, they were where they needed to be.
Well, but I think that's the point. Is it's not that he can't throw off platform or that he doesn't. It's that when he does, it's purposeful and it's
Mhm.
like necessary for the moment. Generally, if he can set his feet and get his hips to the throw and all that stuff, he does. Some guys have that problem, like Klubnik has
They
that
just
problem
rely on it.
where he has a clean pocket, but for whatever reason, he's doing all this
Yeah.
extra stuff where you're like, what is
Yeah.
he? Why? Right? And that's not, I'm not trying to diss Cade Klubnik, but that's like a clear thing he needs to work on where Simpson
Mhm.
is not. That's not the thing that that stands out. But he still does have the physical ability to throw that, like you said, the fadeaway jump shot when he needs to.
Yeah. And I mean, I can give you my comp real quick too if you want.
Yeah, hit me.
I wrote down Brock Purdy for him.
That's a guy that I think, people have, I've heard some Brock Purdy comps. I went with well, before I give you the comp, I'm gonna go kind of what he does for an offense. I think he gives head coaches a partner in an offense rather than just someone who executes it. Because if like the way he's that elite processing and understanding and manipulation of defense will elevate the offense he's in. It's not just someone that you could see it at Alabama. He's not just like, all right, hey, Ty, this is the play, and then he's going to go execute the play. It's, hey, Ty versus this look. We'd love to be in this thing. And then it's like him going back and saying, okay, like if we wanted to get into that, I can run, we can motion this guy and set the protection this way. And that'll allow this, and this to open up. And then coach is looking back like, yeah, I really like that. You've got the freedom to do it when we see the look, right?
Mhm.
So that's a different level of quarterbacking that I think the only two guys right now that I would tell you I feel comfortable saying can get there that way are Mendoza and Simpson. And it's part of why those are the two guys who are the first round picks, right? Those are the two that feel
Makes sense.
like the true, like they'll both go in round one because that's what you're getting with both of them. Obviously Mendoza, a little bit higher ceiling physically, and that's where the big question is with Ty Simpson. But as far as a guy like maxing out his potential physically, to me, the guy that came to mind was Kirk Cousins. That guy was drafted in round 3 or round 4, I can't remember, in Washington, but like defied that projection and those odds in that draft
Yeah,
spot
true. I mean, he's
because
still playing.
completely maxed out what he could do physically. It's not to say that Kirk Cousins has no physical characteristics, and that's the same thing with Ty Simpson. I'm not trying to make them sound like they got nothing, that they're just unathletic, non-throwing guy. Like, nah, they've got something to work with. That's clearly why they're in the position they're in,
Made it this far. Yeah.
but they're maxing it out. And I think that's, Kirk Cousins, good comparison, would be a great career for him if that's what he ends up doing. There's some stuff you like on film too, like right here, he's under center, little under center play action, turn your back, step up, drill one down the middle of the field, like clean pocket, doesn't have to do too much with like mechanically, he does exactly what you want. Another play action out of the gun. Again, look at the throw, dude. I mean, right on the money. Here we go in the red zone, windows tighten, another play action look, feet clean, put the ball up top for your receiver to go get it. Love it. Right. And then you kind of go back to early years Kirk Cousins. Let's go watch him before he tore the Achilles. Play action under center, back to the defense, and let's let one freaking go, Kirk. Right? Put it in the bucket. Let's go.
You like that?
You like that. Vikings Cousins, play action out of the gun like Simpson. And again, little zip on the Stephon Diggs, young Stephon Diggs out there. Like that one against the Packers. And I think we have one more here. Cousins again against the Packers. Takes the shot, took out his legs, but threw with some touch right into that corner of the end zone. I think there's a lot of similarities between Kirk Cousins and Ty Simpson. I think the man, if he ends up, I think he can end up pretty much anywhere and have some success because of this processing and all of that stuff. But if he ends up with like the truly like sick coordinators of the world, if he ends up with one of those guys, I think that the sky could be the limit there. I really do. Like I've seen some people mocking him to the Rams and
I
Sean
have too. I was
McVay.
going to bring that up.
And I think that would be a great place for him
And you get a
to
year
end up.
Behind Stafford too.
Stafford and all of it. Yeah. He's not as physically gifted as Stafford, but man, he can do he'll be able to do some of the things that Stafford's able to do at the line of scrimmage that always gets them into a good place. Yes. I do think that's the case.
Right.
Um,
Last, certainly not least, huh?
yeah, and the last thing, I mean, his projection for most people first round. It looks like picks 10 to 32. He could rise. Quarterbacks generally rise, so we may see him go as high as 10. But yes, last, not least, I don't remember where right now off the top of my head where I put him on my board. He might be last. I don't know.
He's definitely last.
Carson Beck from Miami, by way of Georgia. He
Last
played 4
Georgia.
years he played 4 years at Georgia, then grabbed another year at Miami. 6'4", 220, big guy. Kind of I don't know what you call him, like just that he almost looks like he is another one on tape that does look like pretty big.
Yeah. His height stands out.
Tons of experience. Obviously, played in 50 games between Georgia and Miami, so a lot of stuff there. But statistically, he's going to have the greatest statistical profile of anybody here because he's got the most games under his belt. But go ahead, Jody.
Yeah, he has 69.5% completion percentage. He threw for 11,000 yards, 700 and some change. He's got 88 passing touchdowns. He has 289 rushing yards with 7 touchdowns. He's got 32 picks and 47 sacks, all in all those games.
Yeah, took a lot of sacks his last year at Georgia. A good chunk of those sacks came from that last year at Georgia. Played behind a much better offensive line this year at Miami and did not take as many sacks. Biggest strength for him is the experience. I mean, over the years, it's become
definitely.
more apparent that the more starts in college generally translates to greater results in the NFL at quarterback. We saw like Bo Nix had like 60-something games under his belt, and a lot of people doubted his physical characteristics and some of the things he could do, and he's been pretty good for Denver. And we've seen the opposite end of that. Guys who started like 12 games in college, one season, and that's it, and then they're gone. You're talking about like a Mitch Trubisky, right? Somebody like that, and it's like really it just doesn't turn out as well. So we've learned like there is some legitimacy to like more starts in college. Maybe it ends up giving you a better shot to be okay in the NFL. So huge advantage there for Beck. He's got the most starts of anybody on this list, the most games played. He's basically seen everything that he could on a college football field. It helped his decision-making skills to be much better. It helped him be a bit better quarterback over time in college. I think he was much better this year at Miami than he was the year before at Georgia. Going back to your theme about guys being, I guess this is the opposite of your theme about guys being better the year before.
His
I
first
think
year he was better at Georgia than his second year.
Than the next year, yes.
Or
I do agree
whatever.
with
I
that.
guess maybe third and fourth or whatever. I don't know. I wrote down 23, 24, and 25. Whatever those years for him were.
But the other thing we saw, like clutch plays this year, I think, especially in Miami, but you saw it in Georgia too. I mean, he would play his best in the crucial moments. Took Miami on an improbable run, clutch throws, clutch runs even.
I was going to say the
threw
touchdown
for
too.
754 yards in their CFP run, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. He obviously did have the game-sealing interception in the national title game, but that's kind of a moment where you're taking the shot, and I think it was a little bit more of a physical limitation than it was a bad decision necessarily in that moment. But the last thing too, pocket manipulation, does a very good job, of manipulating pockets to generate more time for himself. Let his receivers get open. He's not mobile, but he isn't a statue. He's kind of a bigger guy, so it's not like you're looking for him to like get out and run, but he's not just a statue back there. He can move. I think there's some stuff that you like from Beck. Obviously, the biggest question to me is like I think there's some limitations in the arm strength, and so that's the biggest thing that I think I worry about going into the NFL. Before this year, I would have said decision making was a big problem for him. I think he cleaned some of that up this year at Miami. Obviously, that will still kind of probably linger, but the arm strength I think is a physical limitation for him.
I'll give you this first note. It's kind of a ode to Stafford, not necessarily saying they're the same, but I said dude has hella touchdowns from 5 and in. He was just throwing up throwing up balls from hella close. I liked his mechanics. I mean that kind of ties back to, like I said, having the better linemen. Like you were at Georgia and Miami, you got pretty good talent protecting you. So I think that's kind of part of it. Is able to just be able to sit back and let the big dudes go to work. You know what I mean? And then I said he was pretty decisive. Like I think he would be able to pinpoint where he wants the ball and get it there, and that's what I got for him. It was kind of tough. I'll give you this little like rant real quick. I don't like how I can't just type in, insert name highlights, and I can't just get an overview of all the years. I gotta look individual year. Like, bro, give me 5 minutes of all his tape. Don't give me 5 minutes from this past year. And then on top of that, you see people doing like 10 minutes on one specific game. Like, bro, I don't want one game. I want a whole season. I'm not here to watch what happened in like week 2. You know what I mean?
There is an art to finding the tape and figuring out which ones you want to watch and all that stuff. I do agree with you. There is something to it. As far as what he can do for an offense, I think he's going to bring a pretty calming presence as a competent backup with maybe a limited ceiling as a starter. I think he can make some big plays in big moments, which is why you wouldn't feel bad if like you're in the second quarter of a game and it's like, our starter went down. We got to bring in Carson Beck. I think you'd feel okay with like, hey, that guy might show up and do some things, right? To me, perfect comp from a size and like that sort of perspective, Davis Mills in Houston, where like Davis Mills had to come in and start 3 games this year for Houston, and they went 3-0, and he did some really good things. But I don't know that anyone's sitting there going like, Davis Mills should be the starting quarterback, right? We saw him get to start for that year before they drafted C.J. Stroud, and it was kind of like, okay, he's okay. But like, I don't think anyone's looking at him as like your franchise guy. I think that's where we're at with Carson Beck.
People were calling for him in the playoffs. Like, hey, it's a time we put this guy in. It's not looking good.
Well, it's the way C.J. Stroud was playing, you can't really blame him. We can look at the tape. Here he is this year against Notre Dame, their first game. Little pocket manipulation, right? Gets the ball to Tony, his playmaker down the field. I like the manipulation and then the ability to make a good decision, kind of not necessarily on the run, but a little off platform to get it to his guy. You can even see in that throw, not as much zip as maybe you would like. There's that physical limitation. Here he goes, pre-snap, identifies what he wants, buys a little time. I mean, this is a sick catch. Let's not ignore that piece, but great throw. Put it where his guy could only his guy could go get it. And it was great start to his career at Miami. It was kind of like, wow, Carson Beck is like really back. He obviously had the elbow injury his last year at Georgia, and so came all the way back from that, silenced some stuff. And now truly clean pocket, let it, put it out there for his guy to go get, against lesser competition there with Bethune-Cookman, but a really nice throw, dime of a throw, right? Davis Mills, it's a game from this year against Tennessee. See, throws the comeback route, nice throw, little zip. Similar kind of statue and throwing motion that Carson Beck has. Nice little touch on that ball, a little bit of mobility, a little bit of ability to buy some time. Like, I just think they look really similar in the pocket, have, a similar sort of calming presence to themselves. You don't get the sense that they are ever too high or too low. You kind of just it's that same face through games with both those guys. So I think it's a good comp for Beck. I think if that's what he turned into, it'd be a good career for him. Right now, I'm seeing as high as day 2. I was kind of surprised about that one based on what I watched. Thought there were some real limitations there, but seeing a lot of day 2, like rounds 2 or 3. So maybe he will climb that high. I will be surprised if he gets to round 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my comp, I wrote down Herbert ? I feel
Wow.
like they kind of the way they sit in there. I don't think they play nearly the same.
I'm sorry. That is just wow. Jody. Herbert has like the best arm in the NFL.
I'm not saying they have the same. They look similar to me in the pocket. I'm telling you. I gave you Russell Wilson for a guy that's 6'5". Like you can't knock me. And I wrote a question mark. I wrote 2. I'm not saying he's Herbert. I'm just saying they kind of look alike.
Okay, I'm just gonna let it go.
I could show you 2 question marks on Herbert, and there's probably the
I can verify,
mark.
folks. There are 2 question marks there for the folks listening at home. Yeah, he has it written down. I can see it. I don't know if it makes it better that you actually wrote that down.
I didn't even write Justin, bro. Let me tell you that. I wrote down everyone. Oh no, I wrote Baker and Purdy for those other 2, but those don't have first names, and those are kind of,
yeah. Okay.
Baker for Mendoza is kind of wishy-washy too.
All of your other stuff that you wrote down, though, all your other guys, like even if it wasn't like right size, athleticism profile, at least like play style matched up.
Yeah.
Herbert and Beck. I don't know, man. I'm really shaking my head at that one. That one it got me. All right. I'm just gonna say it. It got me. But for you people at home, don't be killing my guy Jody. All right.
Nah, do it. We need some comments. Say what you want to say. Get it off your chest.
So all right. So now it's the big time fun piece of this, which is the rankings. Jody, we're gonna let you go first today and rank your quarterbacks.
Sounds good. My first one, I got Fernando Mendoza. I mean, he's the one of one this year, so we kind of got to have him out there. He played very well this past season. Obviously, a lot of exposure to me, which kind of ties in why I have him so high. Same thing with Carson Beck. I don't think he's this good, but to me, from what I watched, out of the other dudes, he kind of had the best film. Sorry about it. Ty Simpson, thing I think with him, only pretty much played this past year. Question mark. Who knows? He did look good. Don't get me wrong, but one season. That's a big variable for me. Next up, I got Cade Klubnik. All I know is this past season, high expectations. They fell off quick. The year before, obviously a lot better. So out of the other 3, I liked him the most. Garrett Nussmeier, same thing as Cade. Kind of had big expectations. Didn't amount to him this past year. And Drew Allar, I was not a fan. Hate to break it to you. I looked at it and was like, I want to turn this off. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I understand your Drew Allar ranking. Truthfully, I do, because it's what I thought going into it. That was my perception.
Yeah.
I saw something different on tape that made me like him a lot more, but I understand.
I will say that was my Carson Beck. I did not like watching him at all on the screen for the playoffs. And then watching that, I was like, he's actually kind of good.
All right. So no change at the top. We both agree Fernando Mendoza is the bona fide guy in this group. From there, I think Ty Simpson, there's processing, there's reason. Like, I feel comfortable in the mental makeup from what you can see from the outside without really getting to talk to those guys and really knowing, but just seeing interviews, reading about them, understanding their background, seeing what they did at the college level, seeing their preparation, all those things. I feel very confident that Mendoza and Simpson are going to be NFL quarterbacks, like real guys who last in the league as starters for at least a chunk of that time. So I feel very good about those 2. After that, I think everyone in this class is a total toss-up, like question mark,
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
agree.
And so when you put that, all of that, then to me, and this may be just like the talent evaluator coach coming out, but it's like if everyone else is a question mark and I don't know, then give me the guy who's got the traits to do it. Give me the guy who's got the Josh
Fair.
Allen
That's
ceiling.
fair.
It doesn't mean he's going to hit. It just means that if you're going
He
to
has a
have
lot
to
of
take a
potential.
chance later, then take a chance on the guy who could hit the biggest. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
Drew Aller third, even though I don't necessarily think I'm not necessarily disagreeing with your evaluation of the tape. The tape is not always good, but I think the really good tape is better than
Yeah.
anyone else's really good
His
tape
intangibles are there too, with the
beyond
size and
those.
all that.
Yeah, beyond those top two. So I went with Aller. Then I went Nussmeier. I do think there's that like toughness factor, son of a coach stuff with Garrett Nussmeier that gives me a little bit
That's
more
a funny name too.
like juice in terms of betting on what he could be. Then I finished like Klubnik and Beck were very close to me. I think Beck is a little more polished, but I think Klubnik has a little bit more like maybe physical capabilities in the long run. I don't necessarily see either Klubnik or Beck. I'm not sure that Nussmeier, Klubnik, or Beck, any of those three end up being starting NFL quarterbacks long term. I think all of them are premier backup type guys who could start in some
Not a bad
spots.
job though. That's all I'm gonna say.
No. I mean, to me, they seem like your Davis Mills or your your guys like that may have some runs where they get to start some games. But I don't know that any of them are going to be a prototypical everyday NFL starter. Some honorable mentions, some guys we did not evaluate on the pod, but just some names to keep in mind that may go kind of in some, in some later rounds here. Tylen Green at Arkansas, really good day at the Senior Bowl, really good week, I should say. Great athlete. So we'll see, maybe one of the better dual threat quarterbacks in the class. Sawyer Robertson at Baylor had a really good career there. There's some stuff there to like. Cole Payton from North Dakota State feels like we're kind of since Carson Wentz. It feels like every few years we have a North Dakota State quarterback that we're like, this guy maybe. And then the last guy is Jalen Daniels at Kansas. I don't know that he has like the makeup to be an NFL quarterback, but he has some athletic traits that you really like that jump off the page. So there's some stuff there. Another guy who had a pretty good college career.
What
All these
about the
guys
Ole
are
Miss
all
guy?
the old
Like
Trinidad Chambliss
Trinidad Chambles or something.
he got a waiver to go back. He
Oh,
finally
they
got
they gave it back to him. They said, "Yeah, go ahead."
yeah. So he's going back.
Oh,
He's getting another
well,
year.
makes more sense.
So yeah, but I think that's all we've got for today's pod. I
You
mean,
got a
that's
banger? You got a banger?
man. Let's see, banger. I have been watching A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I can't remember if I said this
Oh
the last time.
yeah, yeah.
It
The
has gotten really
Game
good,
of
man.
Thrones thing.
Dude, it's gotten really good. It's only 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Season finale is tonight. Only 6
Oh
episodes
dang.
total. Would only take you 3 hours to watch the whole thing. It is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's 6
It's
of them,
got
right?
like I saw someone describe it as like, episode 1, pretty good. Episode 2, wow. Episode 3, really good, like good reveal. Episode 4, like, oh my gosh, yes, let's go. Episode 5, you're like, oh, so now you're like looking at the
Dude,
series season finale,
now
and you're
you're
like,
locked
okay,
in for
this
the
could
night. Like,
be
this would be crazy.
yeah. So, really good. I highly suggest it if you're looking for something to watch.
I was gonna say go listen to Fall Off. I had Who TF is
I have.
You and drum and bass on deck, but just go listen to the album. That came out 2 weeks ago, about the time we last recorded. So go check that out if you haven't.
All right. Well, keep in mind we'll be continuing to do these draft evals position by position until we get to the draft, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll even do our own mock draft. We'll see.
I got too much pressure, bro. I don't know if I could keep holding it up. That's all I'm gonna say. I got too many good runs for me. I don't know if I got another one.
All right. Well, until next time, we got our guy Ray. Take us out.